Click. Hi team, welcome to the Escape Podcast for Star Wars The Old Republic. Today, on another Thursday edition of the podcast, we'll decode some of the community chatter we've been seeing lately. Our broadcast astromech today is EPC 197, which means there's only about 17 more episodes till we get to 200, which is pretty amazing. With me as always is Seema. Hi Seema, how's it going?
Hey Max. Well, we've had a pretty good week actually. I'll just mention that on Tuesday night when we do MFN, which by the way stands for Mandatory Fun Night if you're a new listener. But I should point out that the attendance is not mandatory, only the fun is. But we did Scum and Valani, and we got all the way to the weapons dealer fight. And it was a very smooth run, and it was 16 man. So that's a lot of people. So we did not do the last two bosses, but we knew we wouldn't get the whole thing done in one night because it's a 2-hour run. But we actually, the best one, the most fun was that Oasis Village fight. I love that fight. Yeah. And then tonight on our ops team that you and I are on, we got a lot of stuff done actually. We did, we ended the night with Taboro's Courtyard, but before that we did Explosive Conflict because we were looking for implants and relics. And before that we did Tithe from the Group Finder. So that was cool. So we got lots of conquest points and lots of, oh my gosh, tons of XP, Command XP.
Yes, we did.
Well, yeah, it's been good. How about with you, Max?
Yes, it has been good. In fact, I'm showing off a little present that I got for the thing that we started with tonight, which was killing story mode Tithe. So this was unexpected, especially in a story mode, but a deco of the Tithe himself dropped off of Tithe, and I rolled hacker rolls and got it. So here he is in my stronghold, which is super cool. That is pretty neat, I can say. I'm pretty happy to have that in there. So yeah, that was fun. This week I've also been leveling up my Vanguard in CXP ranks a little bit more. He's over 100. It is slow. I keep talking about that. I keep thinking and talking about the fixes that I think they should give us for alts. I do, and I recommend this for people, now that my main is in almost all 246, 248, I take every CXP pack that I get from ops drops that drop off the bosses, and I put them in legacy storage, and I take them over on my Vanguard, and I wait for Light 5, and then I open them all. So I'll open, it gets to the point where by the time that I have them all collected and I bother to find, to watch for Light 5 and do it, I'll have like 20 in my inventory. So I'll get a few more ranks
right.
in doing that.
Yeah, I have about 20 right now. I keep waiting for Light 5.
So when that whole system started, it was Light 5 all the time. In fact, on Jedi Covenant, it was always Light 5, and Dark 5 never showed up. Now, it is few and far between to see a Light 5 lately. So I don't know what the deal is with that.
It seems like it's few and far between to see it go all the way to 5 on either side. It seems to go back and forth and hover more than it ever used to do.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. I feel like I see Dark 5 quite a bit more often.
Yeah, no, I think you're right on that.
So that Vanguard, my mercenary, still flying GSF for most of my conquest and CXP points on both of those, and still liking that new bomber I've been flying. So that's that. Let's talk about a little bit of news.
Now an Imperial News Network report.
In the news, we got a whole post out there on the old interwebs. Don't try to find it on the website because you'll never find it on SWTOR.com. But
It's there.
if you look like maybe in our show notes or on Reddit, they have a page for June in-game events. Here's the link: swotor.com/info/in-game-events, and I think it's on the info page somewhere. Anyways, June in-game events, which included some things that we hadn't even heard of yet, so we thought we would just run through them. First up, of course, is the Nar Shaddaa Nightlife event, which is going to be June 13th, and it's going to run through August, just August. I don't know if it's the start of August or the end of August, but August. The thing that caught my eye as part of the Nar Shaddaa Nightlife event, this is the slot machines on Nar Shaddaa where you put in 5 million credits worth of tokens and you don't get a Rancor. Just to be clear on how this event works.
So
So,
salty, Max.
so this time around, you'll get to put in 5 million. Well, I will get to put in 5 million credits worth of tokens and not get the Vectron BWL Wraith and the Gamorrean Guard Companion. So if you ever wanted a Gamorrean Pigman next to you, you can get one. I, however, will not.
Right. On to the next thing. We're also going to get the Rackle event again, June 13th through the 20th, so that's next week. And then after that, Bounty Contract Week.
Yes. Bounty Contract Week, that comes up all the time. It's still a good event, though, Bounty Contract Week. If you don't have... There's some good weapon designs you can get off of it. There's some good armor that you can get. I like getting the bowcasters out of the Bounty Contract Week vendors, so check them out. And then also a new event that we hadn't heard of before, July 1st to July 5th, a little bit of a looks on some sort of 4th of July event. We'll get a double XP and Valor event, and for all levels up to level 70. So that is excellent. Double XP, double Valor, build up. Valor ranks aren't used for all that much lately, but it's still useful in PvP. There's a couple decos and a couple armor sets that you can't wear without Valor ranks. Otherwise, it doesn't really matter all that much.
We're also having, I just wanted to remind you too of the maintenance schedule, which was published a week or so ago, but this coming Tuesday, June 13th, is going to be a maintenance Tuesday, and it's going to include game update 5.2.2, which I assume means that there's going to be a patch to download. And then on Tuesday, the 27th, it'll be another maintenance period, but it's just back-end maintenance, and there will be no patch associated.
Cool. In guild and community news, first off, we wanted to give a shout out. I think we talked a little bit about him in the past. One of our guildies named Corley. So the way officers work in AIE, the greater guild, remember we're a very large multi-game guild, so all of our officers now cross all of the games. We only pull in officers in AIE based on need, and it's need for somebody to do a job. So it's really not all that someone
to be a servant.
Yes, so Corley has now been promoted to officership. We did need a little bit of a backlog in Star Wars, some help in some officering here, and he's been running a Rust server a custom Rust server for the guild for quite a while now, so he'll continue to do that. So congratulations to Corley. You will never, ever enjoy playing games ever again now, because now it's
right.
all work. All work all the time. One other bit of guild news before Seema talks about MFN and Conquest. I was asked to give a shout out on the show tonight from Dent, the ops leader for our Monday night Republic ops team, and he said, please give a special shout out to Corley and Seema because
Aww.
They came and helped our team on Monday get through the content we wanted to get through. So there you go.
It's always a pleasure. Nice. I love playing with you guys.
Yep. So how about MFN and Conquest? Where are we at on that?
So,
good stuff this week?
Yes. This week Conquest is called Clash in Hyperspace. The notable repeatable stuff is the normal group finder stuff, also the Black Hole Weekly, and then any weeklies that have to do with flashpoints, whether they're or flashpoints or tactical flashpoints, uprisings, and ops. That's the weekly missions. Also repeatable as always, war zones and GSF, and also the heroics on Balmora and Ilum. So kind of a good spread.
Yeah. I see we on the Imperial side, we're getting a bunch of bonuses on GSF, which I of course like. So that is cool. All right. And if you are not in AIE and are looking to jump in and come run with us and meet Corley, the new officer, and meet, we had a new guildie that just joined tonight that was mentioned that he heard us on the podcast. I think his name was Trower. So welcome, Trower. If you would like to join, we are on Jedi Covenant. You can check out the guild information on aie-guild.org. As Trower said, he kept forgetting to write down the guild information to come find us. Just search AIE Guild on the web, and you will be able to track us down. In there, you will find information where you can get on Discord and come chat with us. You'll get information about where we are in Star Wars, which is Jedi Covenant. And you can jump on Jedi Covenant, and there's notes there for how you track down an officer, either by finding us on Discord or getting in-game on either side. And if an officer happens to be on that side, you can join our custom officer channel, which is /cjoinaIELFO, and we'll get you an invite to the game. And we would love to have you in there, so come on and join us up. Join us up. Join up with us.
Join us up the bomb.
Join us up the bomb. All your Gildar belong to us. Also, shout out and thank you to the chat room. Because we've been switching back and forth, and we're on a Thursday night again, I didn't know if anybody would show up in the chat room tonight. I think we're going to continue to do it on Thursdays, at least for next week, and that's going to make our 4th in a row. We're sort of like in the groove of the Thursday night. We make this permanent. I definitely need to make it Thursday night next week because I'll be out of town on Tuesday. And if by that point we don't get tired of Thursdays, I'll make it permanent and I'll update it in all of the announcement places where I've got it, like under our channel in Twitch and on the newoverlords.com website. But yes, certainly thank you, chat room. It's good to have you guys in there, letting us know that our sound levels are good and answering our questions and making us seem smarter than we actually are. So thanks. All right, we've got Treek to introduce us to our segment for the evening. Take it away, Treek. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Wow, Treek is chatty. Treek is as chatty as the community team lately. So, woo-wee, the community team has been on a roll. And this has been Eric, Keith, and Charles Boyd have all been chatting it up on the forums and in a couple of other places. And there was enough that they were throwing out there in all of those places that we're just doing a segment on that community chatter this week. And we're going to go through some things that they're talking about in terms of what's coming in the summer roadmap, some clarifications that have gone back and forth on the forums and in a couple other places, and walk through it all and debate some of the changes. While we do that, I'm also going to pop over to IOCath, SEMA, and click that throne and that Tithe control token while we're talking. So maybe I'll only do it on the parts that you're talking because I'll get way distracted and the show will grind to a halt. So to kick it off, I'm sort of doing it in oldest and newest things that happened this past week. I guess the oldest thing I had down at the bottom. I'll mention that one first because it's just quite cute. Keith.
Oh yeah.
Jumped into there was a streamer. Her name is Eleva, and SWTORista actually on her YouTube channel put a YouTube video up for her of her stream where she was in there. She was just a SWTOR streamer, streams on a regular basis, I guess. Nothing too big, but one of her friends convinced Keith or asked Keith to get her a special gift. And Keith being the good guy producer that he is, and the reason everybody's really liking him, decided that he would chat up with her in game while she was streaming. So she got a notification that there was a support message that popped up for her. You can see her do this in the stream. She's like, "Oh, what's going on?" And her whole reaction to everything was so cute. So she finds out that it's Keith that's chatting her in game, and drops her this gift in the mail. And she was just almost sort of starstruck in having Keith chat her in game, and then pop into her stream chat and say hi.
Yeah.
And then he gave her, what was it? It was the which armor set was it? One of the rare
I want
armor
to say
sets.
Tulak Horde.
Yeah, the Tulak Horde armor set. But then she was floored by getting this gift, and she was just very cute about it. And he certainly got, internet karma.
Yeah. I mean, the chat room was pretty bedazzled by him too. I mean, everybody was very happy about the whole thing. It was really fun to watch.
Yeah. It was and it was cool. It was a cool thing for him to do. She was very cute and so genuine in her reaction that I liked the whole exchange. So I watched it all the way through, and I was happy to give it a shout out. So there was that. Getting to a little more serious business. What else did we sort of see in the dev tracker and Reddit that came up next, Seema?
So, at some point, Eric posted that he closed down. There was a previous thread about server mergers, mega server, and he closed it down because, as he said, there were some forums infractions in it. But he started this one as a completely new discussion, clean slate place, and it's already to 47 pages of comments when I was reading it earlier today. And basically, it's people saying whether or not they want server merges or a mega server. They're giving their ideas about how it could be implemented. They're saying what their fears and concerns are. They're saying why they want it or why they don't want it. And basically, Max pointed out, we were talking about this earlier, that one thing that came out of it is that RP players have a set of wants and desires that we don't always think about. And so they brought, a couple of players were in there speaking for the RP community, and they really, people were saying, well, we can have a mega server, but we'll just we'll have an RP instance. But the RP players are saying, no, that wouldn't work, because the reason we like having our own server is we don't get griefed. So if we were in an instance in a regular server, then it would be really easy for anyone to pop in and just make trouble.
Yeah, this was interesting. So to be clear, they have no current plans for server merges. They did say, though, we love seeing the feedback. We love seeing the discussion. Keep it up. Okay. So people are keeping it up. As Seema said, 47 pages. Yeah. I read through about half of them. I think I read through about the first 15, and then I started skipping ahead like every 5, just seeing how the conversation was going. Relatively reasonable conversation. More on the no side than I would have expected. And as you're saying, I think it was interesting. There were some things I learned on the no side that not that I necessarily agree with, but was factors that I hadn't considered, or I didn't realize that position existed out there in the community as feedback. And yes, there was quite a few of the RPers that were posting multiple times, so it seems like there's much more RP talk than anywhere else. But I did not find any other RP people popping in and saying, I disagree with this sentiment. The RP community does really want server merges. So maybe it's a bigger issue than I thought. And yeah, I don't know. The main issue that everybody who's against server merges is mostly against it for, not necessarily against it, but do not do a server merge if there's going to be any impact to me whatsoever. If I'm going to have to change my name, if I'm going to have to redecorate my stronghold, if my guild is going to have problems moving or not be able to bring their guild ship over, all of those things would really upset people. And there's so much, you made the point earlier, Seema, there's so much more now that we have in the game that's sort of permanent or locked to a server that would make this quite a bit more painful than it was in the past when we were just losing our names.
Right. And if you're the type of player that spends a little money each month on cartel coins and buys decos for your stronghold, then yeah, you don't want to walk away from that necessarily.
Right.
I totally understand that.
And then that
And
RP
there's
community thing, that was the bigger surprise to me, which was the RP
and
community and the people just saying, I like an unpopulated server.
right. Right. There were a few people that just chimed in and saying, "This is the way I play. This is the way I like it. I don't join queues, so I don't care about queue, how long it takes a queue to pop. Um, I like being on Balmora, the only person on Balmora, or something, you know."
Right.
Of course, the people that are pro, like mega servers, they do cite, it's more that they feel that the ability to queue is there. So you could fill in your ops when you're missing a couple people, or it's not only just faster queues, it's the ability to have queue, for the queue to pop at all. There's also a point of like new players, you're a brand new player and you pick a server because you don't know better and it's Young Ma or something that doesn't have a lot of people on it, then you get a kind of skewed view of the health of the game, and that's not good for the game if new players think there's nobody playing it or
Yes.
there's only a few people playing it. And then they also said that when you log in and there's lots of people everywhere, the game feels more vibrant and more alive, and that's good for the game. So those are the kind of arguments pro the mega server idea. And the mega
Yeah.
server idea, as people talk about it, is usually they'll say like one West Coast server and one East Coast server for the US and then one EU server.
And
And
the
I
reason,
have no idea whether that would work, but that's
yeah.
how people kind of phrase it or put it together.
And the reason people are saying that still having a couple servers instead of one giant mega server is people are worried a little bit about server latency for things like PvP, which yeah, I get that could be a concern. Although we have players that are playing from Australia and New Zealand on Jedi Covenant and are having a just fine experience in general.
But those same players that are playing from Australia, if the servers were in the eastern US, that might just be just that much too much.
It might.
I
So
don't know.
that's an interesting perspective. And then I think, so I still think server merges would be useful. I think the argument that I like a depopulated server so there's nobody around, I don't think that's all that valid of a position. for,
Yeah, I mean
for, but
it's valid in that that person actually feels that way, but
yeah,
it's not probably what you would base your business decisions on if
right,
it's depending on
exactly.
how many people that represents.
Well, there's one guy left on that server, but he really likes it, so we're going to keep that server up for that one guy.
Or 20 guys or 100 guys is not enough. Yeah.
So
So
yeah,
it sounds to me
interesting.
like, Max, like you're pro some kind of a server merger. How would you like to see it?
I am pro. Well, there's one more position in that thread which I think is useful, which is I know it's difficult. Maybe they can't do it, but if cross-server queuing was possible, then maybe this wouldn't be an issue and no one would even ask for server merges. Right now, it's easy to transfer with 90 cartel coins. You can transfer if you want to. It's the server queues. If I want a PvP or I want to do GSF, I had a couple. I think it was like midday during the week last week when I was trying to queue up for PvP on my Vanguard, queue up for GSF, and the queues just weren't popping. That's the problem that most people want to solve, and that's the problem that they're saying mega server would be interesting, but cross server queuing in that instance would solve that. So I would go for
So
that
it
too.
solves the queue thing, but it doesn't solve the new players landing on low pop servers and
Yes.
not having a bunch of people around.
And being
So
confused and that kind of thing. I did see arguments in there that said, well, they should have looked up the server pop so they knew where they were rolling, or they should get a sense of it pretty quick, blah, blah, blah. Yeah,
that's
that doesn't really work
crazy.
that way.
No, it doesn't. I mean, even now, I mean, I've been playing this game basically since launch, and I wouldn't be able to know how to look up. I mean, I just know which servers are busy now, but I don't know where to go look that up.
Right. I don't know where to look it up, and I wouldn't know necessarily if I was a new player and got on a server and it was just sort of dead that that's not just a problem with the game and not necessarily just a server issue. And maybe I would just quit or find the game boring in general and not even realize it's because there's nobody around and queues don't pop and any of that. So
I think what I'd like to see, along with cross-server queuing, would be like a shared fleet and maybe share the starter zones and maybe share Nar Shaddaa in that market area in Voss. So everyone would, the servers would stay the same or maybe collapse a little bit, but you could go to the fleet if you wanted to, and that's where all the people would be from all the servers.
yes. Chat room just mentioned cross-server queuing doesn't help things like low activity on the GTN, but your solution there, where sort of the fleets were combined, maybe that would. Then you could have cross-server GTN and the combined fleet.
Yeah.
That could be
Well, if
interesting.
they're going to do cross-server, if they would do cross-server queues, then yeah, cross-server GTN. I mean, it's a big job, and who knows how much they have to put on it, but that's the kind of thing I would like to see, I think.
And if nothing else, they could implement better than cross-server, and we would all be we would all be safe.
Right, better than cross-server. That would be the apple pie solution, because I just think apple pie would be better than cross-server.
So my Tithe weapon has been initialized. I'm going to confirm order to replicate. Confirm Tithe replication. You give 2,400 Iocath power shards. I don't have 2,400 Iocath power shards. Denied.
You've got some farming ahead of you, huh?
Crikey. So I have the Tithe control module, but you got to turn in 2,400 power shards. Then you receive a Tithe power relay used to power the
Yes.
Tithe command console. Okay, so
So the Tithe command thing that you have, if people don't know, is it dropped off a Tithe, the boss.
yes, seems like 2 drop in story mode, a man at least. And one quick side note on that is they're unique. You can only have one. If they're
Right.
on the boss, we ran in this tonight. I think it's sort of a bug. We should probably report it as a bug. If you have one and you forget and you roll and you win it, it sits on the boss. You can't get it. The one you have is bound. You can't give it away, and no one else can get the ones that are sitting on the boss. That's a problem. Anyways, I think that allows you to run around on Iocath as Tithe, but now we won't know tonight. We'll have to do it next week after I farm 2,400 power shards. All right, so let's open up the next can of worms. There's a thread on class changes, right? So this was announced as part of the roadmap. There will be some class balancing that's going on. There's a thread now that's out there, and there's been a couple additional notes in the dev tracker, a little bit of chatter between Keith and Eric and everyone on the class changes. I'll read off what Keith posted in there because there's a lot of angst around, my class or spec isn't listed. Why am I not getting buffed? Sages and Sorks, lightning Sorks aren't on the list. Why do you guys have your head so far up your butts? Yada yada yada. My favorite change isn't in the list, so everything is terrible. As one would post. So Keith jumped in and said, I told Musco, I guess he calls him Musco also. I told Musco I would wait until tomorrow to post anything, but I simply couldn't do it. I've seen so many posts about Sage Sork, TK Lightning, I had to jump in. The list is only the start, and the ones listed may be included in patch 5.3, but we might move some of the changes out to patch 5.4 and include other disciplines not yet mentioned, like Sage Sork. I expect that is what he's talking about. For example, notice that Operative Scoundrel Healing isn't on this list yet. Humph. You typed humph. Humph. They should be in the list as I want to see my healers indestructible and completely outperforming all other healing classes. Alas, I know we won't do that, but I'd love it even for a month. He posted somewhere in these threads or somewhere else about, I hope, I wish they wouldn't have to nerf my commando bounty hunter, but I expect that's going to happen. So this opens up that can of worms. There's a lot of discussion in this thread that says, hey, are you fixing this? Are you not fixing that? It's a good place to have that discussion. Give them a heads up on what you still think is an issue. Make sure, please, everyone who's listening to this, post in there and say that bounty hunters should not be nerfed. Because this is something we all certainly believe and is completely true.
We all, meaning Max.
And I totally do not think bounty hunters need to be nerfed. That's still my view, and I'm sticking to it. Yes, you can't burst them down, and they're not the first ones targeted now when you get into a 4v4. If you took away if you only took away responsive safeguards, then the mercs would be the first ones that would be killed every time from then on. I know other classes are first to be killed right now. You're killing healers, you're killing snipers,
and that's the
operatives.
sacrifice you're willing to make.
But just because they live a little bit longer and you can't kill every merc you come across in 2 seconds doesn't mean that they need to be nerfed. Because there are plenty of classes that can kill mercs, and you got to realize that there's only an extra 6 seconds that you have to wait when they have responsive safeguards up that you can't kill them. So, boo hoo. However, my other favorite
when
class.
I use 5 responsive safeguards in PvE,
Yeah.
like when we're pulling trash, like tonight during Tithe, it's a great defensive cooldown, but I mean, the mobs burst through it right away, so it's not like it makes me invulnerable. So
right.
if they nerf it too much, it won't be useful.
Right, and anyone who knows how it works in PvP just switches over to AoE and does a little AoE on top of the merc that has their responsive safeguards up, because responsive safeguards does not reflect AoE. So that's how that works. I don't know about if your classes were listed or anything that's going to impact you, Seema, but the other one that does impact me is my Vanguard. So, actually 2. So my next 2 classes that I play the most are Vanguard. I used to play at DPS. I haven't in a long time. I just play a tank lately, but I would play at DPS again a little bit. And Madness Sork. So I would like both of those to be buffed, because Vanguards don't do all that much damage in addition to having to be in melee range. And so in PvP, you have to jump right into the middle of a whole bunch of people, then just kill you while you do mediocre damage. Doesn't seem very fair. And then Madness Sorks just got nerfed quite a bit from last time around, so it would help to have that a little bit more balanced. So what about your favorite classes? Did anything on here stand out to you that you were either worried about or excited about?
Well, the only healing class on the list is Sage Sork.
Right. Okay. And so I would expect that means what? You're going to buff them up a little bit?
I don't know.
Or are they too powerful? I
guess
guess maybe they're too powerful in PvP.
I don't know.
We do see a lot of Sage Sorks in PvP lately. Yeah, quite a few, although I still see the other healing classes as well. So that's a good question, if that's on there for a nerf or a buff.
No, they're not on there.
They're not very much?
No, they're not on this list.
Oh, Corruption Seer is...
That's the healing Sork Sage is Corruption Seer.
Yeah, okay.
But like for Merc and
right, they're not on the list. Yeah, you're right. And I think that was called out somewhere that, well, that's what he said. His operative healers or should potentially be buffed up a little bit.
Yeah,
So
so
we'll
I mean
see.
this isn't a nerf list. This is a list of what they're looking at, right?
Yes, this is an adjust list,
Right.
and they haven't said yet if they're going to nerf them, but having gunnery, having Arsenal mercs on this list, I'm sure that's not on the buff side of things.
I mean, I think the synergy between Ner Merc Commando and Seer Sork is pretty. I mean, yeah, Sork Sage is pretty cool. So,
I'm
I
pretty
mean, I
good
think
in
it's
it at
working
the moment.
very well. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see what they do with that. Um, yeah. So post in that thread, leave your comments, let them know, as I said, that bounty hunters should not get nerfed, and and everything will work out fine. And just realize if your favorite class is not in there for up for adjustments, or it doesn't go the way that you want it to go, they're going to continue to look at this and do more over the course of the summer and into the fall. All right, what's next up on the list of chatter, Seema?
Rocket boots.
Rocket boots.
Yeah.
So Keith
Yeah,
got
so
called out, didn't he?
yeah, so apparently if you have the ability Rocket Boost, it's not going to be able to partake in the legacy speed upgrade that your speeders will, which is available, which will be coming out, which you can buy so that you can go to 120% and then 130%, but that will not affect Rocket Boost because Rocket Boost is on a different system and it just won't touch the Rocket Boost. But he said in his post when he was addressing it, he called them Rocket Boots, and so someone called him out on that.
Yes. Called him out on that, and he said he would have that typo fixed, and we didn't know for sure whether he would have the typo fixed in his post or actually
No,
in the game, and finally just changed the name of the darn ability to Rocket Boots because that's what everybody calls it.
because the fire comes out of your feet.
It does. It comes out of your boots. It's not a rocket jetpack. It's rocket boots.
Oh, I totally think he meant change the typo in the game, but I also think he was joking.
Joking. No. We have to take everything literally.
No jokes.
I literally take everything literally.
I virtually take everything literally.
I
Virtually.
figuratively take everything literally. I I was a little upset. Actually, I had a little bit of angst over this. I'm like, wow, that's annoying. Am I never going to use Rocket Boost again? But the point is that it works indoors and things like that, so it's still going
Right.
to be used
Right.
for those places. Otherwise, especially since we have mount while moving, I don't pop Rocket Boost all that often outdoors anyway. So I don't
Yes.
care.
I
And
don't really care either.
and as we said, and going from 110 to 120 or 130% speed bonus is not very much. It's gonna end up feeling like less than what I think people might be thinking. I do
It's
not think that
hard.
means what you think it means.
It's hard to perceive the difference.
I expect it will be.
I'll buy it.
I'll buy that
We'll
for a
just
million
buy it.
credits. Let's see. We also got a little bit of a mea culpa from Keith on his promise to give some news on ranked PvP rewards. Once they publish the ranked PvP awards, that gives people the news they can use on whether or not they need to be PvPing more to make their targets for season 8. Season 8 I think goes through August. I think that's how they've termed it. That's when they're going to wrap it up. But hopefully they'll post what those rewards are going to be so people know if they should get in a bunch of PvP over the course of the next month or two. Do you want to read what he posted on that, since we've been reading posts as part of this, Seema?
He
In
says,
a
"Yeah,
Keith
I owe
voice?
you that. Let me track this down and get the information posted." But when, Keith? Good question. If I say today or tomorrow and not make it, then I'll be in the dumper. Ugh. Okay, let's say by Wednesday next week after the patch. That's it. Wednesday. Late.
So that is word for word what he wrote. It is interesting the way he's phrasing things to be personable. I think people are liking that, so I we'll let that continue to roll. And it's also reinforcing the point. I'm telling you, Keith, and anyone in the community team, never promise anything. Always caveat as you say anything ever. So when you mean to say, yeah, I'll get you that PvP ranked PvP reward information, always throw in the probably and the maybe. I learned this.
I would actually say the same thing, but word it a little bit differently. I would say, you know, don't wait until you know something for certain before you mention it. Just mention it always. Just keep mentioning. But yeah, like put the caveats in.
I tell the story when my kids were young. This is one of the first things I learned as a new father was never say anything as a definite. You never say, yeah, we'll get ice cream after dinner, because then if there's a hurricane and the ice cream shop has been ripped from the face of the earth, you're still a liar and you're a terrible dad because we're not getting ice cream now and you promised. So, so I always said, maybe we'll get ice cream. So then if we don't, I said maybe, and that's how it works. My other favorite trick was, I would say, all right, get in the car, kids. We're going to the gas station. So then they have no reason to get their hopes up. And then if we do get ice cream, then it's a big surprise. So there you go.
Oh, great.
So what else did he post? He posted something else in there. I'll read the next one that he posted, which is just a clarification that the new Flashpoint that is coming as part of the August update will have Story Veteran and Master Mode. So he said, the Flashpoint will have Story Veteran and Master Modes. In fact, any new Flashpoints will have all three modes. Keith.
No qualifier in there.
In fact, our intent is that any new Flashpoints will have all three modes, is what you should have said, because
Yes.
10 years from now, when everything changes and it's not even called Master Mode and there's only two modes, everyone will look back at this and call you a liar. So that's what you get.
Right.
You lied. You lied in 2017, and in June of 2017, you said they will have all three modes. Then we got some news from Charles. What did Charles jump in and start chatting with us about, Seema?
It was about PvP, World PvP on IOCAF. He basically said that, yeah, it hasn't really been the success that they wanted it to be, but that he didn't feel that the solution was like forcing people to PvP. So they had to think of some other ways to incent people to do World PvP if they want World PvP in this game. So, of course, Max had his idea for how to incent people.
I did, and here's my notes to BioWare. You guys can implement this and give me credit. Have unassembled components drop off of enemy players. Maybe not a lot, maybe just one. But if you kill people in PvP on IOCAF, then drop an unassembled component. That's a valuable reward. Why are you laughing? Because
Well, just looting them off people just makes me laugh.
well, currently you can loot people. You get IOCAF shards when you loot people in PvP. So that was supposed to be a somewhat interesting
that makes me laugh
piece of it.
too.
I know it does. Can I bioanalyze them? Can I?
Actually, in another game I used to play where they could loot you after they killed you, I just hated that. I hated being looted.
I hated being looted. You can release and not watch them loot you. There should be like a looting animation where they like rifle through your pockets and things like that.
I don't like it.
Roll your body over. Anyway, that was Charles popping into the thread, but you didn't read it, Seema. Let me do a
No.
Charles. What does Charles sound like? I have to pretend I have a beard.
Right. He sounds like he has a beard, first thing, yeah.
You're definitely right. Our goal was absolutely to encourage open world PvP on IOCAF. One of our main motivations for including stuff like playable vehicles and ops bosses, OP bosses, op bosses, OP bosses.
I don't know what he means there, yeah.
and player loot was to make PvP on Iokath a unique and interesting experience compared to Outlaw's Den or Ilum. And yeah, it doesn't just seem to have grabbed folks' interest. I don't think that forcing players to participate in PvP is the answer. So you got that going for you. He's not going to make open PvP on all PvE instances as well. SWTOR just isn't that kind of game. So we need to look elsewhere for solutions. Presumably, better incentives would be a great way to start, but I'd love to hear your thoughts and everyone else's on the subject. In the coming weeks, one of the discussion topics we will make is on this very topic, exclamation point.
Now whenever I read probably any post anywhere, I'm going to hear it in that voice.
In that voice?
I don't know what kind of voice. It wasn't a Charles voice, but I don't know what kind of voice that was.
I don't know
It was
what that
awesome.
voice was either. I'm gonna have to remember that voice. I'm liking that voice now. You know what it reminds me of is the guy from Kung Fury. I don't know if you ever saw that really
Kung Fury.
awesomely weird movie. Yeah, it's like a weird spoof of 80s kung fu movies, and there's like a talking dinosaur that's the cop partner of the kung fu guy.
I'm totally going to have to look that up.
Anyway, that's sort of how he
Hopefully
talks.
it's on Netflix.
And then Charles gave us something else. So why don't you read off Charles's next? You do a Charles voice, and
Yeah,
and
I'll
you
do
can read
my
off this
Charles
last one.
voice. This is on the topic of companions returning. He says, the love for Scourge and Arcan is noted and appreciated! Exclamation point. In terms of new characters versus returning ones, the team is 100% prioritizing returning characters for the time being, but that doesn't mean that we could never introduce someone new, especially if it helps to solve a major gap like this. And no characters who can die depending on decisions aren't out of the and no characters who can die depending on decisions aren't out of the running. And then of course the obligatory keep the great ideas and discussion coming.
Keep the
So
great
basically
ideas and
saying,
discussions coming.
I mean, he's been saying for a while now that it's a first love of his to bring back the companions. And so basically what he's saying that's still true. Like he likes the ideas for new companions, but that's going on the wish list.
Yes. Yeah, which I think does need to be the
Yeah.
priority.
Yeah.
We need to get those existing companions back. A lot of people are still missing their companions. I was actually pretty excited. I finally finished all of the story, including Iokath on my Vanguard, and I got Alara back, and I was happy about that.
Yeah.
So I reestablished my relationship with Alara. Spoilers, you're able to do that. She doesn't leave you. And now I have my zombie girlfriend back. So got that going for me. But it got my bounty hunter here, who has been faithful, and although I think Lana would be a better fit for him because Mako's really young anyway.
Yeah, Mako is a little too young.
But Mako hasn't been back in the picture yet, and I know a lot of people are waiting for that. So we got to get that going. Mako and Risha and bunch of other ones, good ones. Any of your main companions still missing, Seema?
Well, since I play mostly my Merc now, no.
Yeah. So many of the Merc companions are back except for Mako.
Yeah, and Mako, I don't have the same Mako desire that many players do
Right.
for perhaps obvious reasons. I mean, I got Torian back, so.
Yeah. I do not have Torian back because I
Uh,
I let him expire. Sad
moving
story.
along.
Spoilers. All right. So plenty of chatter. Look, we filled up a whole show with chatter that's been in the
Yes,
dev
and
tracker.
that's so cool. And I really like that Charles and Keith. I mean, Eric's been doing it for a while, but I really like that Charles and Keith are weighing in, not just when they have something to publish like a roadmap or, a status update on story or something. They're taking part in the conversations, and I
Yeah.
think that's so important, and it goes so far to changing the sort of mood or or whatever you call it, of the forums and lightens up the whole thing. That and the game in general feels more, I don't know, buoyant or something. So
Yeah.
yes, happy.
Yes. Good job, guys. Good job, Keith, especially. Well, not especially. Good job, Keith, in getting in there and making this push. I did want to make the point, and I think it's worth saying that a great job, Eric, still. Eric
Yeah.
really has been on this cadence and has been doing this and has been doing a great job, I think, as a community manager for a long time. So great job for on good, good on Eric, and it's good to see more people out of the dev team sort of stepping up and following that example. I think this week has been the right amount. I know it's been a lot. Maybe they think it's been a lot, but I think this is the right amount, and I think they should keep this up. So there we go. We keep it up.
I think Keith's personality is a good fit, and I think Charles's personality is a good fit, and of course Eric, like you say, it has been stellar all along. I think it's good for the game.
Yes. Yes, and I think with that, yes, we have been keeping it up, and we will wrap up this next installment of our keeping up with communicating out, and our EPC 197 droid here can head out, and we can be done with this week's show. Thanks to all of you for joining us on newoverlords.com, iTunes, YouTube, or live on Twitch. We will stream again next Thursday night on twitch.tv/newoverlords around 10:30 p.m. Central. Please follow us on Twitter at MaxTheGray, at AIESEMA, and subscribe on YouTube, and come find us on Jedi Covenant and ask us for an AIE Guild invite. Do that Google search for AIE Guild. You'll find us, and we would love to have you. And we will talk to you soon.
Later, everyone.